Greetings. Well, the Arcturian Council. Well, pleased to with.
Hello, it's nice speaking with you again.
Yes, indeed it is.
Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
Primarily the waves of energies that are upon you and that are causing more and more people to shift into higher consciousness, to exist in a higher state of being, a higher vibration. This is what is exciting to us right now, that more and more people are getting swept up in the energies because they are more sensitive, more awake and aware, and more capable of receiving. A lot of times what we and others like us send to humanity bounces off the vast majority of people because they're completely closed off, tense, anxious, afraid. Something is causing them to not be able to receive, but enough people now are rising up to let in these waves of energies, and we're just so pleased to see the impact that the 1111 portal has had and the November energies in general are having on the human collective consciousness as you continue to spiral upwards and get to a point where more people can come together and see themselves in others and others in themselves and be one family, one united consciousness there on Earth.
Yesterday I had a pretty powerful meditation. I was listening to a guided meditation and it felt really good, and I guess, does that help, like, putting out the good vibes out there?
Sometimes that's all you can do. In other words, there's no one around you asking for help. There's no money that you have to spend on a good cause, and the only thing you can do then is to raise your vibration. And sometimes that's the only thing a sick person can do as well. As doctors will throw their arms up in the air and say, we don't have anything to treat this. And so then it becomes on you and on your shoulders to access what you need to in order to heal, or access the healer within yourself. And that's something that this pandemic has caused more people to do as well, to be their own healers and their own physicians, and of course their own guides, as well as people have had to navigate through the different choices that they've been faced with.
Is there an easy way to heal your own body, as far as like more temporary or permanent pain? I guess like joint pain, I was thinking.
Well, any type of pain, it's important first to accept that it's there, that it's your creation, that it's come to give you something, because then you won't resist it. You won't tense up to it, which makes it only worse. You won't sit just wondering what it's about or what you can do about it, but instead you'll actually be with it, which is what you want to do with painful emotions as well, to be with them, to sit with them, not try to drug yourself out of them. And then once you come to the place of peace with it, you can remember that you do create your body and you recreate your body in every moment, and that you have a brand new body, even scientifically speaking, every 7 years. And so you don't have to create the same body. You can create a different body, a body that feels better and functions better and is better by all measuring devices. So that's something to remember, and to remember that, of course, you're the powerful creator of all of your experiences, and therefore when something is going wrong in your experience, it is a calling for you to step up a bit more than you have been.
I guess we kind of talked about this a little bit last time, as far as the death of a loved one, but I guess I wanted to ask further, like, why do bad things happen to good people? And is there a reason and purpose to it? And basically asking, like, how can one say that it's God's plan when something terrible happens?
Give us your definition of something terrible.
Well, I guess we already talked about it, but like a death of a loved one.
So who's the terrible thing happening to, the dead person or the person who survives?
Well, mostly wants the person who's left behind,
Person,
who's lost a loved
right,
one.
all right. So that can be seen as a terrible thing, obviously, especially if you only have one person in your life for the most part, and then they leave, and then you're feeling all alone. So that grief that you feel, of course, you don't want that, and it's not fun, it's not a good experience. But when you feel that grief, you're also releasing it. You're releasing your own grief, you're releasing collective grief. So the only thing you could do wrong in that situation would be to try to avoid it through drugs or through alcohol or through denial of it, a suppression of it in some way. And so as you do accept what is there, and you realize that it is there to serve you in some way, perhaps you can come to the conclusion that this person's death was meant to get you to branch out and meet more people Perhaps it was meant for you to experience a deeper connection with oneness so that you can feel that person's presence still in your heart, even though they have left their body. Perhaps the person's death inspires you to explore mediumship, channeling, things that can connect you to consciousness that exists in other realms, and that opens up your life in a way that you wouldn't have opened up to it had that person not passed on.
I was also wondering about like co-creating a reality, like about big sports or big sports events, I mean. And you have all these players and fans that want to win, and is one team predetermined to lose, and does one team deserve to win and deserve to lose?
Well, everyone's creating their own reality, and the way that that's possible in a mass event like that is that there are multiple realities. In other words, there's a reality where your team wins, and there's a reality where your team loses. So you as the fan or you as the player, you're aligning with one out of two realities. Usually there's not a tie in most sports. So usually it's one or two, but there is also the chance of rain delay, and there's a chance of a tie, and there's all kinds of other realities that exist, but mostly it's you're choosing one or the other. And if you think about it, whether your team wins or loses is not as big of an event as who wins or loses World War II. And therefore, those two possible realities are not going to make a huge difference in the lives of everyone around the world. And so they're allowed to both be experienced by you and to be created, whereas other things are more or less going to unfold in a certain way. You're not going to make that big of a leap to another reality where, say, you don't experience a 9/11 or a World War II or something like that once you're in the reality where things are leading up to that event. But certainly you can be in a reality where your team was going to lose, and then through your alignment, you move to the reality where your team wins. And you might say, well, what about the other person who's sitting next to that person, and that person's not aligning? How come they get to go to that reality? Well, they don't. You go to the reality where the person who was sitting next to you was also aligned. You see? In other words, there's more than one reality. There's more than one version of you. There's more than one version of them. There's more than one version of the team. So then the team that you're watching, those players on that team have each aligned with the victory.
And you've said before that nothing in your reality is random.
Nothing. You plan it right down to the very last detail.
And so, like with luck in the lottery, for example, that's, I mean, I guess I was just trying to understand a little more.
Well, it's not luck, really. It's, again, an alignment with an outcome. Most people play hoping to win but expecting to lose.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I was also curious from your perspective, like the sociology and like psychology of generations growing up now with computers and the internet, and like how has this changed humanity and our interaction with each other? I guess I was thinking mostly face to face, but also online, I guess.
Oh, it's changed a lot. It's allowed you to reach out to people in other parts of the world that otherwise you wouldn't have ever even known about. It's
Just like
allowed
this.
you to share your thoughts. Yes, your You can make a video, or you can write a blog or create a website, and therefore the way that the consciousness of all people is connected is demonstrated through that internet of yours in such a remarkable way that it does serve the old timers to get on board and partake in it, because it's not only the future, it's the present, it's here and now, and it can help them to find an old friend from decades ago that they wouldn't have otherwise hired a detective to go search out, but they will do a search on the internet for. And so it is a way, another way for you all to connect with one another, and it really does serve you that it exists, and it is your co-creation after all. So you have only yourselves to thank for its existence.
Guess switching topics, I was wondering about the kids, and do they have any pets? And is there anything important that you would like to tell me about them?
The hybrid children,
Yes.
they will have virtual pets. In other words, a lot of them do exist on ships where they have a sort of hollow deck like they have on the Star Trek vessels. And so they can have virtual pets in that way, but most of them do not have actual animal pets, because they were born on ships, and those ships needed to house as many of the Zetas as they possibly could, who are without a world now. So the thought amongst them was not about bringing animals along that would someday be the pets of their future children. They didn't think that far ahead.
That's interesting. Guess I forgot what else I was going to ask. So that was a certain timeline, I guess, where things didn't work out right as well as hoped, and now they're potentially going to take a refugee or show up to Earth and interact with us or live here.
Yes, that's precisely the case.
And you were basically saying that it was one timeline where humanity basically destroyed the Earth, right, through pollution and things like that. And now or I'm sorry, can you please explain?
Well, that is the story of the Zetas, and their planet originally was in the Lyran star system, and through a nuclear blast, it got dislodged from its system and went all the way over to the Zeta Reticulan system.
Okay.
But in addition to the nuclear blast, there was also, yes, a lot of pollution, too much of an emphasis on technology. They went to cloning, then they couldn't reproduce anymore. They were much more interested in learning and expanding the mind, and cut themselves off from their emotions, which they thought were inconvenient. And that was the end result, was that they lost touch with nature and the very nature of themselves being emotional beings, which is so important to have as part of who you are.
Yes,
And
thank you
it
for.
is a potential for humans to continue to go down the route that you have been going down, but the Zetas, being a part of your experience, are there to be that cautionary tale to all of you. And that's one of the benefits to all of the connections that people have made with Zetas over the decades.
Yes, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. And I guess we're low on time. Is there anything else that you would like to say before closing?
Be kind to each other and gentle with yourselves, and know that you are always loved, you're always surrounded by love, you were birthed out of love, and really there is nothing else but love all around you. If you can feel that at least once a day, then you can go on in this challenging life that you live in, and you can also open yourself up to all those other energies we were talking about before, because as you open yourself up to feeling one energy or one vibration, you open yourself up to feeling all of them.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it.
Yes, we are the Arcturian Council, and we have enjoyed connecting with you.